Okay, so what is the definition? Let's talk about a definition. What's the definition of sales? The definition of sales is it's a conversation. Everything we do is a conversation, right? So sales is a conversation in which we guide an individual from wherever they are starting from to a place where they can see a solution to their problem or need and recognize that the service we are offering or the product we are offering is a perfect match for that solution that they are seeking. Let me say that again. So sales is a organized, systematic conversation that guides an individual from wherever they are in the present moment with their understanding and of their challenges, their problems, their feelings, whatever difficulties that they have in their life. It's a conversation that guides them from that beginning point, wherever they are right now, to the realization, to the ultimate realization that there is a solution to their problem or need, that it is attainable, it's achievable in their life. They can have it. If they're committed to having it, they can have it. And recognize that Life Crafting offers various resources, tools, solutions, programs that are a perfect match for that outcome that they are seeking. Does this make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Okay.
So
Yes.
now that you know it's a conversation, what we're going to do is we're going to break down all the components of that conversation so you can see that there are stages of this conversation. We said a minute ago, it's not some quick fix like a band-aid on you had a boo-boo on your finger and you put a band-aid on. It's not a band-aid, okay? It's a
Yeah.
process. It's a very in-depth process. And to the extent that you complete each phase of the process will determine the outcome of your success in the end. If you are weak, or if you're, say, weak, or if you skip steps in the sales process, that there's a good possibility that it will fall apart and the person will just run away and will not make a purchase, will not buy anything. Okay, you're with me so far?
Yes.
You have
Yes.
any questions so far? Any questions?
No.
You understand everything I've said so far?
Me, yes.
Okay. Well, you can only speak for yourself, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
You can speak for the man that lives in Toronto, or the man who lives in Alaska, or the man who lives in China. You can't speak for them.
Okay.
You can only speak for Jane. Okay.
Okay.
And Ross, do you have any questions or comments about what I said so far?
Have any question? All clear. Like it's all
You
agreed.
understand what I'm saying, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a very, very rough sketch of an overview of the sales process. This is going to be very rough and very general, but it's going to be like a tour. Have you ever gone on a tour?
Yes.
Have you ever had a tour guide, somebody who guides you on a tour? They're called a tour guide. You've heard that expression, a tour guide.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's me. That's me. I'm a tour guide now. I'm a tour guide.
Hi, Captain.
There you go.
Okay.
So I'm going to guide you, but it's very broad and very general, and it's going to be very brief. So I'm going to give you this very substantial sales process, but I'm going to make it I'm going to cover all the parts, but very quickly and briefly. And you'll understand that later on, we're going to zoom in to each one of these. We're going to zoom into it, and it's going to expand out into a really big piece, right? But I want to give you the overview, okay? This makes sense to have an overview,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So when you begin a sales process, of course, you create rapport. We all know about rapport because you mentioned it a few times and you use it in social media interactions or wherever you are with people. You're always creating rapport so that people can easily interact with each other in a comfortable, safe
Okay.
manner, right? So it's always rapport, right? then the next thing, the next step in the sales process is identifying what the person is, what's bugging them, like what's bothering them, what's upsetting them, bothering them, bugging them. What is the problem they're trying to solve? What is the uncomfortableness, the difficulty, the challenge, the frustration, all of the various feelings that a person has from a situation in life that has become intolerable to them, that has become unacceptable, unworkable, or intolerable. If it's any of these words you don't know the meaning of when you watch the Fathom, just go and keep looking up the words, so you learn every word becomes clear to you, okay? So you are in listening mode. You're going to ask a few questions of the person. What's going on, Jane? Jack or Steve, what's going on in your life? What's on top of your mind right now? What's really bothering you? I would love to listen and hear, what's going on for you, what's happening for you, and then just listen, just really listen, okay? But not listen again just with your ears, but listen with all of you. Really listen. They're really getting, with a capital G, where this person is at and what's really happening for them. And you will see a lot of different aspects as you listen. You will hear them talk about their physical world, and all the various obstacles and patterns and problems in the physical world. And then they'll talk about how it feels and how frustrating it is. And when they try this and try that, it doesn't work. And wherever they go, it's not good. And it's really bad. And it's become worse and worse and worse. And you just listen and you take it in. And what else is a really good thing to do during this phase? It's called active listening. Remember active listening from many months ago when I went to ChatGPT and I asked her to do a role play with me on that. And then I also asked Anna at a later time whether she could do a role play with me and just do active listening, and she agreed. So active listening is when you listen really fully with your whole being, and when you can feed back to the person what you heard from them in a heartfelt, caring, and sensitive way, but without fixing them or without embellishing or adding things they didn't say, but just being very empathic, very caring, and very, very supportive, and very accurate, and use as many of their words as you can in the feedback. The more you use their words, the more they feel that you've really heard them, because they check in to see, oh, he's saying my word, therefore he really hears me. That's the way people are wired up that way, okay? And so then after that all happens, then you're going to summarize it. They've given you their 5-minute or 10-minute summary, whatever, or maybe just 2 minutes, and you're going to give them a summary, which is really also active listening. It's active listening, but it goes a little further because you're summarizing what you've heard from them. Right? You're summarizing what you've heard from them. And then the next thing you're going to do is ask them what they would rather, what kind of situation they would like to have in their life. Like what would be the resolution of their problem or their situation. You're asking the person to step in to the solution frame. We call it the solution frame. They're going from the problem frame where they're in the problem, right? And they're looking at what's the solution frame? What will it be like when this is all solved and it's all worked out? What will my life be like then? And how will that be? And what will it look like and feel like and sound like and smell like and taste like? And every sensory component of you, what will that be like? Okay. And then they are in the problem mode frame and then this solution frame. And it's very, very useful when you're in that dialogue to be facile. That's that word again, facile, which is skillful and able to move them back and forth between the problem frame and the solution frame. And you will notice affect, 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 which is how a person demonstrates their emotional state in their behavior and in their appearance, okay? So when they're in problem mode and they're talking about how difficult it's been, they may cry, they may yell, they they may anguish, they may have frustration, they may show all of these emotions in the way they express themselves. And then when you say, okay, Steve, just take a moment now to be paused for a moment, and please go ahead and step into the solution frame. And imagine, 3 months from today or 6 months from today, you can give them an exact date on the calendar if it helps. Please describe your life has been resolved. What is it like now? And you will watch their face and their voice and all aspects of them show the whole different resolution that will register for you. But you also want them. Now, why is this super important? And I will explain very, very briefly, and then we'll go into great depth at a future time. But in order for sales to work, in order for somebody to make a commitment and make a purchase of a product, whether it's $50 or $50,000, it makes no difference how much the amount of the sale, right? It could be any amount. In order for the sale to happen, there's a couple of things that are required on an emotional level. One is they have to feel the pain. If they don't feel the pain of their present situation, then there's no motivation to change, right?
Yes.
Just
Right.
knowing the pain is not the same as feeling the pain, right? They
Yeah.
have to feel the pain, they have to experience the pain in order for it to be real for them, which is the necessity for motivation. And why is it important for them to feel the feelings in the solution frame? Because then they actually can inhabit the state, the emotional state, right? The physical state of the life they really want to have,
Yes.
and know that that's a possibility. Now, just explaining it as a possibility will never work. They have to feel it as a possibility. And with all their sensory components, all the sense elements, they have to feel it. Okay. So let's fast forward now. So we've done all this and they've completed all that. Now we come to the level, and remember, there's no product, there's nothing to buy, there's no service, there's no product, nothing. You're doing all this without ever saying the word about, well, at Life Crafting, we have this program. No, you're not doing that. None of that. Sales process has nothing to do with that. Okay. All right. So now you're coming to the next phase here of where you have to put some, like a ribbon, like when you make a package and you put a ribbon on it. We need to summarize this and summarize. So now you're going to summarize once again. So Steve, you have this, you have this. Okay. So now we come to the really pivotal question, which, well, there's two pivotal questions, but one in particular. One question is, what is your desire level to have the life that you truly want to have, as opposed to the life you have now, where there's pain or frustration? What's the desire? If you don't desire the end result, then, well, you're never going to get it. The universe is never going to give it to you, right? Because the desire is part of how the law of attraction works, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And you have to have not only the desire, but the commitment to get that life. Okay. Now, we know in the Promise Game that Anna guides you through a small set of baby steps that seem rather innocent when taken individually, but add up in the final analysis to actually a very big commitment. It's a very big, right? It's a big commitment. But Anna does it in a sneaky kind of way, because what the Promise Game in general does it in a bit of more of a sneaky way by, introducing these innocent little steps. And that also applies to sales. But in this particular context, because you want them to make a decision and you want them to make an investment and a decision, so we give people a scale from 1 to 10. And we say, if you were going to measure your level of commitment right now to having this outcome, this desired outcome, and this new life for yourself, what score would you give yourself in terms of a range of commitment, the commitment to having it? Okay. Now, here's where it gets very interesting and where it gets very Scorpio. You ready? This gets very Scorpio now. Okay. Okay.
All right.
So if they give you any score other than a 10, then you're not done. Okay, because 10 is a complete commitment. And if they're not completely committed, then there's more work to do, right? Because it's their commitment level that drives them to make that decision, to make that investment in that program, product, service, whatever it may be, right? So they may say, well, I'm an 8, or I'm a 7.5, or I'm an 8. Okay. So what's the question you're going to ask next is, okay, great, Steve. Well, what would you need in order to be a 10? Well, what else would you need to really bring yourself up to a 10? And they'll just, whatever they say whatever they say. It doesn't really mean anything because it's just a lot of words. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
anything. And so after they give you their whole explanation, you can say, okay, Steve, what's your score now? What's your score now? And say, well, I went up to an 8.5. I was 7.5. Now I'm an 8.5. Okay. And then you repeat the same question. Okay, what would you need to be a 10? Anyway, back and forth. And then finally they open up and they show emotion and they say, well, I've been all my life, I've been very, very never really believed in myself, never feeling confident, never feeling that I could really have what I truly want. So I'm hesitate to commit because I just don't believe that, that I can really have it. And so you respond back and say, oh, you have a belief. You have a belief about this, right? And then, yeah, I've got a lot of beliefs. And so are you aware of limiting beliefs and that the fact that limiting beliefs can be changed internally, that in life crafting, we have tools for changing beliefs, changing them. They go, wow, gee, I didn't really know that you could do that. Okay. So when you know that you can identify all your limiting beliefs and you can shift them and transform them, how would that change your commitment level? Well, what would be the new commitment level? Oh, I'm a 10, I'm a 10, I'm a 10. Okay. So we're fast forwarding here particularly, but as you understand here, this is Scorpio territory. So this is the place where if the person is still hovering at a 7 or an 8 or below, then you really have more work to do. And what I generally tend to do with people who are lower than that, like 6, 6, 5, 4, if they're any lower, I say, Steve, I'm really sorry. I don't really think I can help you because we need people with a real total commitment to this in order to really help them. And so I think the best thing for you is to go off and do your thing in life, whatever you do. And when you really reach that place of really deep commitment, then come back and let's talk again. So that's what we call
Yeah.
that. There's a name for that in sales. It's called a takeaway. So write down the phrase takeaway. It's when you take the product away from the prospect. Okay. Okay. So so we're going to fast forward here and we'll assume that they're a 10. So their desire is a 10 and their commitment level is a 10. So they're now ready. They've completed all the requirements in the sales process, and they're now ready for the final step of the sales process, which is you telling them how the life crafting program can be, and with you personally, in this case, me, and the life crafting program can be an extraordinary vehicle and partnership for them to bring about this end result that they're seeking. Okay, because they're not going to do this alone because it's just not something that you can do as a lone ranger. You need to have a really dynamic support system and coaching and mentoring and all this, right? So you ask them for permission. Would it be okay with you if I share a little bit with you about what we do in life crafting and how we working together could potentially have a partnership that really accomplishes all of this for you and will bring you to that state that we talked about, October of next year when all these things are resolved. Would it be okay with you if I tell you a little bit about that? And so they say, oh yeah, sure. Because at this point they've become so open, they're so receptive, right? So, oh my God, yes, oh my God, because you've already essentially sold them on the product without even mentioning it. Why? Because you facilitated them in this inner journey of going from where they are to where they. So if you have the ability to facilitate, another important word, guide, facilitate, or coach them on this journey to get to that state, oh my God, then you must already have, all the magic and all the tools and all the methods available, to make that happen. So of course, they're very trusting at this point. And you've shown yourself to be caring and supportive, empathic, be a good listener, be a good active listener, etc. So all these things build deeper rapport. So then you give them a brief description of the program, maybe the mastermind program, or it could be an astrological session or whatever it is. And you describe how and why the program works. So you're not going super analytical or mental, but you are showing how each of the tools that we teach or each of the things that we offer in the program are very, very specifically suited and geared to the particular problems and issues that they shared with you earlier in the conversation, and how by having a committed partnership where you are there with them 100%, are they now going to be totally cared for? And the financial investment is whatever amount is, and we do have payment plans. We have different arrangements, financial arrangements can be made to make this workable for you. And we can get a little creative with financing if this really needed, but that's the point. Now, when you get to the final endpoint, you need to get a decision from them. You can maybe allow one day to say, well, if you need to do whatever you do, but you don't want to give them 4 or 5 days, because the longer that you have before the decision is, the less likely they are to sign up. And the reason for that is because all the little conversations going on in their head, there's the no conversations, no, this will never work. And then there's, oh yeah, this is great, this is great, this is great. So they always have both conversations, right, simultaneously. But the longer the time period that goes by, the greater chance that the no conversations will become stronger. And they'll say, it's just not a good time for me. I just really can't afford it. It's just too expensive. My mom, my wife doesn't really like it, or some version of that. Okay. So you want to get a decision. Now, there's the most important principle in all of sales. To really understand what sales is and to become really skilled at it, you have to become unattached, emotionally unattached to the result. And that's the Scorpio part, but it's your Scorpio part for you, not the Scorpio part for them. It's the Scorpio part for you. So you need to become unattached. So every time you notice, I want this person, I want to sell them, I want to get them, I want to get them, you have to go letting go of all that, right? And getting back to that neutral, caring, supportive, but where no is an acceptable answer. So after all is said and done, if the answer for them is no, you accept that gracefully, lovingly, kindly in every way, and say, thank you so much for taking the time to go through this with me. Maybe at some future time, we can do something again if you feel more motivated or more whatever. And you let it be. Okay, you let it be. And in terms of numbers, of course, in sales, if you do lots of conversations and meetings, you're going to have a percentage of people who say yes. And then, of course, we call them conversions. And then over time, the conversions keep going up percentage-wise, because you get better at what you do and you pick better candidates for the program in the first place, right? You get the sense of this. And you can see I went through all of this very, very fast here, but yet all of these parts are much bigger and deeper than but I think this is a good overview, right?
Yeah.
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 Now I'm asking, my big question at the moment is, how much of what I shared with you today here did you already know, and how much of it is really new information? So Jane, you say first, how much did you already know before all this, and how much is really new?
For me, of course, for me,
Yeah.
for
Yeah, for you, yeah.
yeah, I think 20 to 30%. Some of it I already knew. For example, like asking first the prospect, like what's going on, like
Right,
in
right.
sales, sell something. When I sell something, uh, I ask first, like, what does the person need, something like that.
Okay,
And then after that, I listen to them, like, make an empathy. Like, oh, I really
be
understand
empathic,
that.
yeah,
I need, oh, I get what you were saying, something like that.
right, right.
And to the part, like, and the 70%, I really don't know about the takeaway, wherein
Right.
when the person is not really, I mean, when the person asks, I mean, say a score 6 below, uh, it's the
They're
first
just
time
not
I tried.
committed. They're just not
Yes,
committed.
because
So you let them go.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, because
Well,
before I just, really become pushy, like, no,
right,
actually,
right,
you
right,
really
right.
need this, something like that. But
Well,
now, so
hey,
yeah,
okay, so yeah, I was gonna say you're 20 to 30%, what you said would have been my estimate. If I was gonna make it an estimate myself, I would have said 20-30%.
right?
But not based on training though, more based on instinct, like instinctual knowledge,
Yeah,
because you're an aware person, so you have sort of an instinct for it, right?
yes. Mm-hmm.
So now are you excited about the idea of getting the 30 plus the 70?
Yes, of course.
What do you think your life will be like, and what will be different for you when you get to the point where you have skill and confidence in this process? What do you think will change?
How, how, how,
Get
how I
low.
offer, how I offer the product. Also, like, how I can, I mean, besides offering the product, how I can really catch the person, not just about the product, but the person's relationship with
Right.
with
Yeah.
me, and that person. Yeah,
So the relationship will be very different, and much deeper, more expansive, more trusting,
exactly.
open, with all
Right.
those qualities to it. Yeah. And how will that affect your life overall? Not just in the sales conversation. How will it expand outward from that point for you?
For me, it will affect for me in a sense of when you gave us the example of about the scoring. Like, it really makes sense to me I mean, just now, like, if the person says 10, meaning you're not really doing your sales very well, but when that person told you the score, like, really not a 10, there is an impact of me as a salesperson that will really help me or will be relevant for me in the future. Like, I can say that, oh, I can ask that person what that person really needs for her or him to be able to get that 10. So there's a work for me also to do that in
Yeah.
a process.
Okay, very good. Now I'm going to give you another little secret here, which is that the universe is very, very wise, and it's not only has the law of attraction, but the universe has an underlying agenda to it. And we have never really discussed this very explicitly, but I will tell you that God or spirit or the universe, whatever name you prefer, has an agenda. And the agenda is not only law of attraction, but the agenda is to further the evolutionary process of living beings, to further that evolutionary process. Okay. So God as spirit is intimately aware of how Jane has a set of limiting beliefs that affects her success in life,
Yeah.
more intimately aware of that than Jane could ever be. Okay. And when you say, okay, I'm going to learn the sales process and I'm going to become good at it, okay, then what does the universe do? It says, oh, wow, how much fun is
I'm
that?
gonna
You're,
challenge her.
you're going to give Shane exactly those challenges in exactly that way, in exactly that order that helps her create breakthroughs within herself, one step at a time. And so she can see her getting better and better and better, but the changes are not just skill based, they're not just verbally or skill based, they're also internally based. And you can reflect on your own beliefs and see how those of your own beliefs begin to change as you go along in that journey of learning sales. Okay. Pretty exciting.
Yeah,
And it's again, it's perfect for Scorpio.
exactly.
Okay, so now for you, Rossi, how much of all of this did you know before today? What percentage?
40, 60. Yeah, 40, 60.
I'm sorry, can't hear you. What?
Or
You're
40,
you're breaking
60.
up there.
40,
Say again. 40?
40. Yeah, 40, 60.
44. Oh, you knew all of this. 40% of all this you knew before?
Yeah,
Wow,
I knew 40%.
that's impressive.
And yeah, because I work as a customer service I work as a customer service representative.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
but even right, I know, but as a customer service representative, you didn't sell transformational programs, did you?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, that's why 40, 60.
That's why
I
it's
still
40.
need to
Okay,
learn.
good. Then are you excited about learning the remaining 60?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Okay. Okay, good. So you think this is a good introduction overview?
Yes. And we want
Yes.
to learn
Do
more.
you think that now that you know all of this just from today, that when you have conversations in comment streams and posts and comment streams on Facebook, LinkedIn, that you can use even the knowledge that we gained today, that you can use some of that and apply some of that in your interactions there and start just practicing these ideas, even right away you can, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can begin making discoveries. Like if somebody says, I would really love to have a life where I can have this, or I can have more money, or I can have more free time to to go fishing, or do the fun activities that I enjoy. And you can ask them, well, how committed are you to that life? Right? You can ask them that right away. And notice how fun it is with the promise game, because if they give an answer like 60% or 60% committed or something like that, and you could say to them, well, would you like to be at 100% commitment? Would you like to continue to increase it to 100? And when they say, oh, yes, absolutely. Well, we have the perfect way to do that. The promise game is the perfect way to do it. Because in the promise game, you're going to move up, incrementally in steps
Yeah.
as you play the game. So it's a back doorway. It's like a sneaky sort of back doorway to reach the commitment that you wanted, or by doing it in an innocent sort of slow, innocent sort of manner. And
Exactly.
another thought just came to my mind is that person who say is 6 or a 7 in the sales process and they never get beyond the 7, and the 7 is the highest that they can get on the scale.
Yeah.
You can always send them off to the promise game and have them work in the promise game for a month or two and tell them when you get to be a 10, come back. Then you can give them a task to play the game in order to reach that higher level, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it just occurred to me because when I did sales years ago, I didn't have the promise game. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have it in
Right.
this form. So now we have another resource that can help
Actual
us.
app.
Okay. All right, good.